few weeks back, I created a video showing you 3 proven methods of making money with KDP. And one of the methods in that video involved the use of Amazon advertising. Many of you left comments on that video asking me to further elaborate on the process of creating an Amazon ad campaign. So in this video, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to walk you step by step through the entire process that I would use to create an Amazon ad campaign for one of my low or medium content books. So if you're somebody who's been thinking about dipping your toe into the world of Amazon advertising, or somebody who's been using ads for a while now but just not getting the results that you've been looking for, then stick around because this video is for you. Hey guys, Craig here. Hope everybody's doing well. Okay, so for this demonstration, I'm going to be using a guitar chord and lyric journal that I created a little while back. This is a very simple notebook that I've titled the Lyric and Chord Scratch Pad. It contains a table of contents with enough room to enter in a song title. That way you can quickly find the page of the song that you're looking for. And it's basically broken down into 2 sections. The first consists of blank guitar chord charts, as well as space to enter your song's title, tempo, capo placement, and tuning. And the second section simply consists of 3 pages of lined paper to write lyrics on. Once you flip through those 3 pages, the 2 sections just continue to repeat throughout the rest of the book. So it's a very simple book. Now there are 2 things that I want to point out simply because both of these things can have an effect on whether or not your book sells. 1, this book's product page does have A+ content on it. So if you're not familiar with how to add A+ content to your own Amazon listings, I have a video on how to do that and I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. And the second thing that I want to bring to your attention is the fact that I have my book's royalty set to around $1. And that's so that I can keep the purchase price at a very competitive $6.99. So just know that both of these things can play a factor in how well your advertising campaign performs. Currently, the book has a BSR of around 5.3 million, which is absolutely horrible. But it does have a somewhat higher ranking in some of these more niche categories, which if I'm being honest, doesn't really amount to much as far as sales are concerned. But regardless, this is the book that I'm going to create the ad campaign for. Now before I jump into showing you how to do this, I just want to make something perfectly clear. It doesn't matter how good your advertising campaign is, how good your targeted search terms are, or even how many advertising dollars you throw at your book. If it isn't any good and the customers don't like it, it's not going to sell. And I'm only telling you this because I don't want you going into this thinking that an Amazon advertising campaign is some sort of magical elixir that's going to turn your little low content book into a worldwide bestseller. That being said, let's get to it. Okay, so one of the first things that I like to do when I'm getting ready to start an Amazon ad campaign is start off by doing a little bit of research. Now when it comes to low and medium content book research, I do everything in BookBolt. For those of you who are unfamiliar with BookBolt, it's a subscription-based website that pretty much contains everything you need to run a KDP self-publishing business. They have some incredible research tools that enable you to find profitable niches as well as heavily searched keywords, and I'll show you how to use one of those tools in just a minute. But a BookBolt subscription also comes with an intuitive desktop publishing software that enables you to create and lay out not only your book interiors, but the covers as well. And if that wasn't enough, the BookBolt Studio is also equipped with a puzzle generator, which gives you the ability to generate an unlimited amount of interiors for crossword, Sudoku, word search, word scramble, cryptogram, mazes, and more. And just know that I have a few videos in my Self-Publishing 101 playlist that show you how to create those types of books using BookBolt. And I'll put a link to that playlist at the end of this video as well. Also keep in mind that if you're interested in signing up for a subscription to BookBolt, that if you use the link and my promo code CraigBabin that I've placed in the description section of this video, you can get 20% off the retail price. All right, let's do some keyword research. Now, if you've never created an Amazon ad campaign before, the reason that I'm researching keywords is because when you create a campaign, you're going to be asked to pick some keywords or key phrases that you feel best describe your book. Because the way an Amazon ad campaign works is, you're going to choose a particular keyword or phrase that pertains to your book. Then you're going to choose an amount of money that you'd be willing to pay if an Amazon customer were to click on your sponsored advertisement. Now, once all of that information has been predetermined, if a customer was to enter into the search box the particular keyword or phrase that your advertisement was targeting, and your bid amount was higher than all of the other bids that were being placed on that keyword by other sellers at that moment in time, then your book's sponsored advertisement would appear in the first spot on that first page of search, or in whatever spot you were bidding on for that particular keyword or phrase. But if your bid wasn't the highest, let's say it was the second highest, then your sponsored advertisement would appear in the next available sponsored ad spot on that first page. And if your bid was the third highest, then your ad would appear in the third available spot, and so on. And this would continue on into page 2, 3, 4, and all the way down to the last page of search. But just keep in mind that there are other factors, like how well a sponsored book is currently selling, that can also play a factor in whether or not a book gets the #1 spot, regardless of its bid price. So just know that the rules are not exactly black and white, and that there are shades of gray in there. But there's really nothing you can do about those additional factors, so you just need to focus your attention on what you can control. And that's the keywords and search terms that you target in your advertising campaign. But before you create your advertising campaign, it's extremely important that you pick the keywords and key phrases that not only best describe your book, but that are also being searched for the most by customers in the Amazon marketplace. And BookBolt has just the tool to help you do that. So when you first log into BookBolt, you're going to be under the Research tab. All you have to do is go over to the left-hand menu and then move your cursor down until you find the keywords icon and then click on it. Now you'll have two categories in this submenu, Search and Favorites. I'll get into Favorites in just a minute, but for now, click on Search. Okay, so what you want to be doing here is figuring out which keywords best describe your book. And remember, you're paying money every time someone clicks on your ad, so you do not want to be overgeneralizing the definition of your book, because if you do, you're going to be burning through a lot of wasted money. If a keyword or phrase doesn't directly pertain to your book and instead can be used to describe a wide variety of books or items, then don't use it. You want to be very specific here. So using my book as an example, it's a blank lyric and guitar chord journal. I would not want to be targeting the phrase music book in my ad campaign. And the reason for this is because although my book may be considered a music book, the phrase music book also covers printed lyric and sheet music for popular bands, music education books, as well as music-related biographies. And that is just way too broad of a category to be wasting advertising money on. So what I want to do is start by searching keywords that specifically describe my book. Now, because my book is designed for recording written lyrics, the term lyric journal would be a good place to start. Okay, so once the search results show up, you're going to be presented with two tables. The table on the right is pretty much just an abbreviated summary of the table on the left. So we're just going to focus on this one. Now you're given 5 columns. The first column contains additional keywords and phrases that pertain to the keywords you just searched for. The second column is the Amazon SV, which stands for search volume. The number in this box represents the number of customers who are searching for this particular phrase on Amazon per month. And as you can see, if I click on this little arrow here, you can rank it from highest to lowest. Now the next column over is the Google search volume. If there's a number in this box, it's referring to how many people are searching for this phrase on Google. And the 2 boxes to the right of this one also deal with Google Analytics. The CPC column is referring to cost per click on a Google AdSense ad. And the competition column is referring to the bidding competition on Google Ads for this particular phrase. Now you may be thinking, well, why do I need information about Google Ads when I'm looking to advertise on Amazon? Well, inside the Amazon ad campaign generator, we can see what Amazon sellers are bidding for any of these particular keywords or phrases. What we can't see are the customer search volumes for those phrases, which is why this information is here. Now, as for the Google Analytics, this information here is a great indicator as to how big of a demand there is for this type of content. It's great that there are 3,467 customers searching for the phrase lyrics journal on Amazon every month. But what's also interesting is that there are 260 people searching for this same phrase outside of the Amazon marketplace every month, and that sellers are willing to pay $1.14 per click to try and get people's attention on their books. If there was no interest on this type of content outside of Amazon, then there wouldn't be any ads. Sellers don't place advertising in spots where nobody's buying, especially ads that cost $1.14 per click. So this is a good indicator that there's a big market for this type of content, even outside of Amazon. And if you're someone who promotes your low and medium content books outside of Amazon, then this is good to know. So what you're going to want to do here is go through all of these keywords and phrases and pick out the ones that best describe your book. When you find one that you like, just click on the little heart icon and it'll be saved to your favorites list. Now remember, be very picky here. You want the phrases that have the highest search volumes, but at the same time, that best describe your book accurately. So if we take this phrase journal lyrics, you can see that it has 1,932 searches per month. But the one just below it has 2,118 searches. The only problem is, lyrically obsessed journaling featuring Little Peep has nothing to do with my book, so the fact that it has more searches every month is irrelevant. So what you're looking for is an amalgamation of similar keywords with higher search volumes. So if we look at this phrase lyric journal, you can see that it has 4,819 searches per month. Now my book is a lyric journal, but it's not only a lyric journal. The blank guitar chord charts add a musical aspect to it. So if we scroll down, you can see that we have the phrase lyric journal notebook for aspiring musicians. That's closer to what my book actually is, and it has 6,441 searches per month, so I definitely want this one. But again, find the keywords that best describe your book. Yes, my book is made for recording lyrics, but it's also made for recording guitar chord progressions. So it's not just recording the lyrics, and it's not just recording the music, it's recording the entire song. So I want a phrase with the word song in it. And if I scroll down even further, you can see that we find the phrase songwriting journals for lyrics. This is a much better definition of my book, and it has 10,462 searches every month, so I'm taking this one as well. What you want to do is save a few different phrases that have the highest search volumes to your favorites library, and then try searching a different phrase or keyword. The goal is to get about 2 or 3 dozen really refined search terms and then bring them back to the Amazon ad campaign generator and then punch them in to see what the current bid ranges for them are. And from there, you can begin to lay out your advertising ad campaign strategy. Okay, so once you're finished searching all of the different keywords that best describe your book, it's time to head over to your favorites folder. Now don't confuse the 2 separate favorites headings. The one in the left-hand column with the heart icon is for books that you have favorited. You need to click on the favorites link in the submenu of the keywords tab. This is the one that pertains to your keyword favorites. So this is the list of all the keywords and phrases that had high search volumes on Amazon. Now before I delve into how to use these, I just want to go over the actions menu first. So in the actions menu, you have 4 icons. The icon farthest to the right is the delete icon. This will allow you to remove a keyword or phrase from your list. The next icon over to the left is the details icon. This will give you the estimated sales volume of that particular search term as well as the competition score. And just like in grade school, the letter A is the highest grade and F would be the lowest. The next icon over is the keyword finder. Now you may be thinking, didn't we just come from the keyword finder? Well, yes we did. But where this comes in handy is after you've added all of these keywords and phrases into your Amazon ad campaign, and you've gathered some data on how well each of them are performing, the ones that aren't performing at all, you can just delete from your list. But the ones that are doing well, you may want to try searching them in BookBolt to come up with different variations that may get you even better results on Amazon. Creating an Amazon ad campaign is not just a case of entering in a few targeted search terms and then leaving them to sit for a few months. You want to be paying close attention to your analytics so that you can remove what's not working and replace those phrases with keywords that will. So you're always going to be tweaking your ad campaign's targeted research terms until you find a small group of them that work the best. By weeding out the bad keywords and phrases, you'll be cutting down on unnecessary ad spend. Now as for this last icon, this is something that you should not only be utilizing for your ad campaigns, you should be using this before you even create your books, and that's the product search. When you click on this icon, the term that you were referencing will automatically be loaded into the keywords text box for the product search menu. Now when it comes to the category, you're going to have a few options. You can choose to refine your searches to that of notebooks or journals, or any of these categories. But I like to search for my products the same way most customers search for products on Amazon, and that's under all departments, or in this case, general. Once you've selected a category, just hit the search button. When the search tool has finished compiling all of the results, it's going to display them like this. The first set of data is the general overview. To the right, you have the keyword count. This shows you how many times that these keywords have appeared throughout all of these listings. And just below that column, you're given a list of other keywords that are related to the one that you've just searched, as well as their Amazon search volumes. But the section you really want to focus on is this one right here. These are the 100 books that came up under that search term. Now remember, these aren't all of the books that are listed on Amazon under this search term. These are only the top books that are being published through KDP. And the information that you're given here starts off with the book title, which comes in handy when you're writing your own book titles. Then you have the name of the publisher on line 2. On line number 3, you have the book's ASIN number, price, and number of reviews. Below that, you have the book's current BSR ranking, as well as the number of estimated sales that the book is making each month. And finally, you have the publication date, so that you can get an idea of just how long this book has been on Amazon. This is a very powerful tool to have at your disposal because it gives you a chance to see who your competition is under this particular search term, as well as where they're priced and how they're performing. It also gives you insight as to how all of these books are laid out. As you can see, most of these books only contain blank sheet music. They have the blank chord charts as well as tablature, but no spots for lyrics. So if someone was searching for a book like this, they probably wouldn't be interested in my book. But if they were looking for a book like mine and they just happened to use this particular search phrase on Amazon to look for it, then my book would definitely stand out against all of these other books, which would be great for me. But you have to be careful here. You don't want people clicking on your sponsored advertisement only to find out that your book doesn't contain what they're looking for. That's just wasted money from your perspective. So you want to make sure that if you're going to be using a broader targeted search term in your ad campaign, that you're making the title and description of your advertisement very clear as to what is and what's not in your book. This research section can be a very powerful tool to help you create ad campaigns. So once you've spent some time researching your competition and you've decided on which keywords and phrases best suit your book, go back to your favorites menu and just delete the ones that you don't want to use, and then download the final results into a CSV file. You'll be able to copy and paste this list directly into Amazon Ads. It'll save you from having to type it all out by hand. Okay, so now that we've got our research done, it's time to head over to KDP and start creating our ad campaign. So the first thing you want to do when you get to KDP is click on the Marketing tab. Under the section Amazon Ads, you want to pick the marketplace that you want to place ads in. I'm just going to use the US for this demonstration, so I'm going to select Amazon.com. Now, just click the Go to Ads console button. This should take you to the Campaign Manager. Now, if you've never placed an ad before, then there won't be any campaigns here to see. But to start a new campaign, all you have to do is click the blue Create Campaign button. Once inside the campaign generator, to start off, you'll have to choose your campaign type. You have 3 options here. The first is for sponsored products, and the second is for sponsored brands. This is what you would use if you had an entire line of books all published under the same brand and you wanted to advertise a few of them at the same time. And the last option is only for ebooks. I'm just going to use this first option, so I'm going to click on the Continue button. Okay, once inside of the campaign creator, your first option is going to be to choose between a custom text ad and a standard ad. The difference between these two is that with the custom text ad, you can only promote 1 book per campaign, and you get to create a custom description for your book that will appear with the ad. With the standard ad option, you can't add custom text, but you can promote more than 1 book in the campaign. So let's say that most of your KDP books were puzzle books, but you also had 3 coloring books in your lineup. You may want to promote all 3 of these coloring books in the same campaign, simply because they would probably share a lot of the same targeted keywords. But because I only have 1 lyric book, I'm just going to use the custom ad option. Now in the next section, this is where you would add the book or books that you want to promote to the campaign. And all you have to do is click the add button just to the right of the book listing. Okay, so in the next section, you need to decide what type of targeting strategy you want to use. Now the first option is automatic targeting. This is where Amazon chooses keywords and phrases for you based on your book's description. I don't recommend using this option, and the reason is because Amazon tends to use very broad keywords when it's targeting. I used the automatic targeting once and ended up spending $3 on the keyword book without getting any orders. You can't get any broader of a search term than that. But it was my fault for not paying attention to my analytics while the campaign was running. If I had noticed the keyword sooner, I definitely would have removed it from my targeted keywords. But for that reason, I prefer to use the manual targeting option. So once you choose manual targeting, you'll be given 2 more options. The first is keyword targeting and the second is product targeting. When you use keyword targeting, you're targeting the keywords that customers are actually searching for, which gives you a lot more control over your ad campaign. When you choose product targeting, you're actually using a much broader targeting strategy. So if you were creating an ad campaign for a children's coloring book, then when using the product targeting option, you would target children's coloring books. The problem with this option is that most Amazon categories only niche down so far, so there's a limit to how descriptive you can be with your search targets. Whereas with keyword targeting, you can be as descriptive as you want. So for that reason, I'm going to use keyword targeting. Okay, so if we take a look at the keyword targeting section, we immediately have a few options to choose from. The first option is to take keyword and bid suggestions from Amazon. Now remember when I told you that using automatic targeting was not a good idea because Amazon tended to target very broad keywords? Well, this keyword list below is just an example of some of the keywords that Amazon might use to target my blank guitar chord and lyric journal. And as you can see, some of these keywords either have nothing to do with my book or are way too broad. Like for instance, staff paper. Although staff paper is used to record written music, it has nothing to do with my book. And just below that, the keyword song. That is way too broad of a search term to be wasting advertising dollars on. And this is why I don't recommend using the suggested option in this case. The next option is the enter list option, and this is the one that I'm going to use. But before I get into that, I just want to point out that the last option, the upload file option, requires a little preparation before using it. Do you see how in the enter list option, you're asked to choose a bidding tactic as well as a match type for your campaign? Well, if you were to use the upload file option, you would have to include both the bidding and match type information for each of your keywords within the file that you upload, and that's kind of a pain in the ass. So I prefer to use the enter list option instead. All you have to do with this option is open up the CSV file that has the keywords that you downloaded from BookBold. Select the first keyword, and then holding down your Shift key on your keyboard, select the last keyword. With all of the keywords group selected, right-click on them and choose Copy. Then just go back to your Amazon ad campaign, click inside of the keyword text box, right-click and choose Paste. Now before you add all of these keywords, you need to clarify a few more things. First of all, what bidding strategy do you want to use? I tend to stay away from the suggested and default bids, and here's why. There are a lot of variables that go into deciding how much you're going to be willing to bid on any particular keyword or phrase. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute, but for that reason, I always choose custom bid. As a starting point, I usually just set the default bid for all of the keywords to around 20 cents. I'm going to be setting the bid on each keyword manually, so I'll be changing them as I go. And as for the match type, I only use phrase and exact. If you choose broad, then Amazon may bid on any of your keyword phrases regardless of what order they're in or whether or not they are complete. In other words, in my case, Amazon may just target the keyword book. And as I mentioned earlier, that's way too broad of a search term to be spending money on. Once your book starts selling, you can begin targeting broader search terms if you want. But until that happens, I would keep your search terms very focused and niched. All we're trying to determine at this point is whether or not there are actually people who are interested in buying our book. And the best and most cost-effective way to do that is by keeping our targeted keywords as close to the actual description of our book as possible. So once you have all of your options selected, just click the Add Keywords button. Now sometimes you'll get an error message telling you that some of the words didn't get added. The reason for that is usually because you had doubles in your CSV file or you had something that Amazon doesn't accept, like a dash symbol. So if I scroll down here, you can see that some of these phrases clearly were added even though I'm being told that they weren't. So just go through and delete the ones that were just doubles and then make any necessary changes to the ones that contain symbols and then just add them when you're done. Okay, so when it comes to setting your desired bids, any keyword that doesn't have a suggested bid range, just leave at 20 cents. There's no sense in raising your bid when no one else is even bidding on that phrase. Now, when it comes to the keywords that do have a suggested bid range, this is going to be where you're going to need a little more information to help you make that decision. So you're going to need to determine whether it's worth it to raise your bid higher than the suggested bid. And the information that you're going to need to make that determination is 1, how high is the customer search volume on that keyword phrase, which you can find out by going back to your list in BookBold. And the second piece of information that you need to know is what is the competition volume on Amazon for that particular phrase. So if I take the phrase song notebook, you can see that in BookBolt, that phrase has around 7,900 customer searches per month, as well as 2,900 searches on Google. And the bidding competition is quite low as well, so that's a good sign. Now if I go over to Amazon and type that phrase into the Amazon search box, you can see that there are only 4,000 other results that show up, which is fairly low. So if I bid toward the higher end of the bid range, there's a pretty good chance that my book sponsored advertisement will appear in one of these first 4 ad spots located on the top of page 1 of search. So it would be worth it for me to raise my bid up to the suggested bid, or maybe even to the high end of the bid range. Just for a little while though, I just want to see if there's any interest in my book. But if I get 5 or more clicks on that phrase with no sales, then I would immediately lower my bid. It may be possible that customers who are searching this phrase are not looking for what my book has to offer. So I would lower my bid to the low end of the bid range and then just let it ride a little bit longer. If I keep getting clicks but no sales, then I would remove the phrase from my campaign altogether. But if I start getting sales while my bid is at the high end of the bid range, then I would just let it ride. Now, if you're getting a lot of sales from one particular phrase, make sure you're keeping an eye on that bid range. Bid ranges change from hour to hour, and if you're not paying attention, you may get pushed out of the bidding entirely. Because of those first initial sales, you now have proof that customers who search for that term on Amazon want your book. So you want to make sure that your book stays on that first page and continues to sell. As long as you're not losing money, stay competitive and raise your bids when necessary. So when you're first setting up your campaign, you're going to have to do this with each phrase. And then once you launch your campaign, you'll need to really pay attention to your analytics for at least the first few days. It's in the first week of your campaign that you're going to get the most useful data. It's also going to be the time when you remove all of the keywords that aren't working and start doubling down on the ones that are. And just on a side note, the difference between phrase and exact is that with exact, your campaign will only place a bid when a customer types in those keywords exactly as they are. Same order, no extra words. But with phrase, although the sequence of the words must be the same, it doesn't have to be only those words that are being typed in by the customer. So with the phrase song notebook, if the customer typed in song notebook for guitarists, your campaign would still bid on that phrase if you had that phrase option turned on. Okay, so once you have all your keywords set up, it's time to move on to the next panel. Now your next option is to choose some negative keyword targets. I'm not going to get into this, but just know that this is useful if there are some particular keywords that you don't want your ad campaign to target. So as an example, although my book is a song journal and I'm targeting that phrase, I wouldn't want my campaign to bid if some customer typed in the phrase piano song journal, because my book wouldn't be what they were looking for. So I might want to add the negative keyword piano to my list. Okay, moving on. So this next box is where you add in your custom text. You only get 150 characters to work with, so make your description clear and concise. So I might use something like this for my book. Document a song's title, tempo, capo placement, and up to 12 individual bar chords, as well as 3 pages of lyrics for every song entry. Once you have that done, now it's time to choose your campaign bidding strategy. You have 3 options here: dynamic bids down only, dynamic bids up and down, and fixed bids. With fixed bids, Amazon will never alter your preset bid amount. With dynamic bids up and down, if Amazon feels that raising or lowering your bid would better serve you, they'll adjust it. With dynamic bids down only, Amazon will only lower your bid, and they'll do it if they think that your bid is much higher than the next bid down. They do that to save you money, so this is the one that I normally use. And finally, you have the Settings tab. Here, you'll be given the option to name your campaign. It's always a good idea to give your campaign a name as well as a date, just so that you can distinguish it from all of the other campaigns you may be running. You'll also have to pick a starting and an end date. I usually just use today's date as the starting date and just leave the no end date as it is. Just know that you can pause a campaign at any time, so there's really no reason to choose an end date. The country is already pre-filled out, and all you have left to do is set a daily budget. I usually set my daily budget to around $5, and I rarely end up reaching my daily budget limit. That being said, just know that if you do have a high traffic day and you reach your budget limit before the end of the day, Amazon will go up to 100% over your budget amount using the leftover money from previous days where your daily budget wasn't met. So if you have your daily budget set to $5, if it's a really high traffic day, Amazon may boost your budget to $10 using the leftover money from the previous days that you didn't meet your daily budget to cover the additional $5. But they won't go more than 100% higher. Again, I've never had that happen, but if you're getting a lot of clicks and making sales, it's not a bad thing to have them raise your budget a bit. Just keep that in mind as you're watching your analytics every day. Okay, so once all of this is filled out, you just have to click the Launch Campaign button. Amazon will notify you by email once your campaign is live, and you'll be able to see it in your campaign manager. Now, when it comes to your campaign analytics, this is how I usually set mine up. There are 5 metrics that I want to see right off the bat. I want to see my sales, my ad spend, my impressions, my clicks, and my orders. Now, some people might say, but what about your cost per click or your ACOS? And just know that your ACOS is just a percentage that compares how much you're spending to what you're earning. So the lower your ACOS is, the better. In most cases, having an ACOS over 30% means that you're losing money. But the reason I don't want to use those 2 stats here is because this area here is showing me a general overview of my entire ad campaign, and that includes all of my targeted keywords. So seeing my overall ACOS is not going to tell me which keywords are performing well and which ones aren't. I can see the overall ACOS from my campaign right here, but it's still of no use to me. What I need to see is the ACOS for each individual targeted keyword. To see that, I need to click the targeting heading in the left-hand menu. From this set of analytics, I can see all of the metrics for each of my keywords individually. So if we look at the phrase Songwriter's Journal, you can see that it received 3 clicks. Those clicks cost me 32 cents, and the cost per click was an average of 11 cents. And I received 2 orders for a total sales of $17.98. So my ACOS, which compares how much I'm spending to how much I'm making, is 1.78%, which is an incredible ACOS. So this keyword phrase, Songwriter's Journal, is a keeper. And I would definitely be willing to raise my bid on this keyword to make sure that my advertisement was staying on the first page of search for this phrase. So on a daily basis, you want to be going through all of your keywords, and if you find any that are getting a lot of clicks but no sales, you can turn them off by clicking on this little button right here. I can't do it right now because this campaign is old and it's no longer live, but if it was, I could just turn each of these phrases off and on with this button. Now, if you're not seeing all of these columns laid out the way they are here, just click the Columns heading in the top menu and choose Custom Columns. Then just choose the ones that you want to appear and then click the Apply button. And that's basically it. Keep an eye on your analytics for at least the first week of your campaign. Take out any keywords that are costing you money but not getting you any sales. And just know that in addition to being able to turn off certain keywords, you can also add in new keywords just by clicking on this button right here. Your goal is to find about 15 keywords or phrases that are performing really well. And remember, as long as you're not losing money, let those ads run. It's not about making money in the beginning, it's about getting sales. Getting sales raises your book up in the search results organically and helps you get more reviews. If you start selling a lot of books through your advertising campaign, you're going to notice that you'll also start getting more organic sales at the same time. And that's because Amazon will be raising your book's BSR ranking thanks to the sales from your ad campaign, which will move your book up higher in the search results. And because of the extra reviews you're getting, more customers will be willing to buy your book, which means that your book's BSR ranking will once again continue to rise. It's basically a snowball effect. Once you get some real momentum going, you should be able to turn your ads off altogether and still continue to make sales. Okay, so hopefully this video has given you a little more insight as to how to use Amazon advertising as a means to promote your low and medium content books. Now, if this is the first video you're watching on my channel and you want to learn more about creating low and medium content books, or you just want to learn more about self-publishing in general, then be sure and check out my playlist, Self-Publishing 101. You'll find tutorial videos on everything from book layouts, interior and cover design, marketing, printing, promotion, and more. In fact, that playlist has everything that you'll need to help you get your KDP low and medium content book business up and running in no time. And you can find a link to that playlist right here. Until next time, take care.